Hey guys, welcome to the 12th installment of the Sling Den. And today I've got another guest from a different side of the hobby. Today I've got a man who does online competition shooting all around the world. So I'm really excited to speak to him. And that is UK's own Dave Smith. How you doing, Dave?
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, good. I was just saying there in the intro how I'm excited to have you on, being the online competition shooter, because it's not really a subject I've touched on in any of my other episodes. But quickly, just give a roundup of who you are and what it is that you do.
Um, I'm Dave Smith. Um, Discovered online shooting in lockdown 2020, and it's a good way to make the practice, have a reason to practice. So you go online, you live stream from your back garden, from the woods, from your workplace, like I do. And as the years have gone on, more and more competitions, starting in UK, and you get picked up on different competitions, America, Italy, Spain, and more. So now there's competitions going on all the time, and I can compete with people from all over the world.
That's really good. So we're going to touch on how often that happens pretty later on in the episode, but just go right back to the start and tell us what got you into shooting. And I'm going to call them catapults for today's purpose because we're both from the UK. So if we strip ourselves right back down to the start, when did you first pick up a catapult, and what was the reasons that you done so?
Well, obviously a couple of years back in the 80s, when I was a child, had the Milborough catapult, the old 1/4-inch black square tubes, and we'd all wander around causing havoc, shooting anything and everything. And if you was the one that hit the can out of all your mates, you was the best shot going. Any stone that fitted in the pouch was used, and that was that. You know, we all grew up with a catapult in our hand as kids. Got into air rifles, air rifle hunting, poaching, whatever you want to call it. Then moved on to shotguns. Then stumbled upon a video, like you do on Facebook, whatever, of someone shooting a catapult. I was like, Christ, that was accurate. That was 2019, end of 2019. Wow, that was never like that when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. So done the research, everything, got a lump of ply, cut a frame out, had some Fairbound gold, worked out how to make a band, and it just progressed from there. And I got better and better and better and working out and learned how to cut bands, all these YouTube videos. Still hadn't found a Facebook group or anything. And then got like more and more into it, and yeah, just suddenly it became addictive, and I was shooting all the time because lockdown occurred, so everyone had a lot of time on their hands. And then the UK online league appeared, you know, because you looked at this might have been the usual thing, Facebook sees what you've been searching and stuff. I had a look at that. I thought, well, I'll have a go at that. Might as well have a go. Bought some targets off Wasp, and that's it. That's where it started.
So it was only 2019 that you picked up a Slingshot. Well, other than obviously your childhood days, but when we're talking about the sort of new age Slingshots with flat bands and stuff like that, it was only 2019 that you started shooting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, initially it was for hunt. Straight away, I think most people pick up a catapult. Not most, but it was something else to hunt with. I was air rifle hunting, shotguns. I thought, cool, that'd be handy to stick in my pocket. So I went down the road of trying to find the most powerful band, and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's all it was about, like how much power I could get. And then you start learning, hold on, if I tweak it down a bit, I'm a bit more accurate. I think everyone goes down that road trying to get the most power, and accuracy suffers. And then once I started switching it down, hold on, yeah, that's better. And then you got into and mad on the target shooting now.
So when you first started shooting, did you have many problems that you faced in terms of accuracy? Because obviously back in the day, as you said, if you can hit a can, you're a pretty good shot. But nowadays, you know, when you're hitting like 25 mils and things like that, you do need to be dead accurate. And now that we've got YouTube and things like that, there's videos all over the place on helping you improve accuracy and things like that. And I think certain people have different issues at the beginning, whether it be judging distance or whether it be the release, the stance. It could be a number of different things. Did you face anything early on when you picked up the catapult for a second time?
Yeah, I mean, I automatically, as a kid with the Milbras, we shot gangster style.
Hmm.
You know, it seems like a new thing, but that's how we all shot, sideways as kids, shooting. And I tried to model the first plywood one I made from the Milbra, and I was miles out. It was miles, miles, miles. And I thought, I worked out I needed wider, wider, wider. Then, of course, I was saying, like with the power, you're trying to get as much power as possible, and your hands going everywhere and all that. So once I learnt to tweak it down a bit and go lighter and lighter and lighter, then now I'm getting a better group. I started with a 100 mil target. That was my thing to work on. And once I got 5 out of 10 in the 100 mil, I was over the moon, and then tweak it down and down and down. Yeah, it was toning my bands down is what brought the accuracy up. I mean, now, yeah, I can shoot a heavier band accurately, but to start off with, no, I needed to be a lot lighter. And I think a lot of people waste their first few months going heavy and just trying to get all this power. And you see the videos, they're shaking like that, trying to shoot. Yeah, so you lose a few months. It's a learning curve. We all learn in one way or another how to do it, and it was making it easier for myself, and the accuracy improved.
So the reason I ask that is because I always try and get my guests to give beginners a couple of tips. You know, being that I get a variety of different guests on with different skills, it's always interesting to see their kind of top tips for a new shooter. Obviously, setups is a huge one because you're right in what you're saying. You know, a lot of people go to Facebook and they may be a new shooter and they'll say, "What do you recommend?" And someone might be saying, "Well, you know, I'm using 10 mil leads and 9.5 steels," and to a new shooter, they don't know any different. They just think, well, that must be accurate because they're using it, so I'm going to use it. So, you know, using a lighter setup definitely goes a long way. But what are the sort of tips? So, if we count that as tip number one, could you give us another 2 tips that you'd recommend for a new shooter?
To not do prolonged practice, little and often, rather than 3 and 4 hour stints.
Hmm.
You'll lose your rec. You'll lose it. Although it's not a lot of strength needed to pinch a pouch. After 20, 25 shots, like I say, it's not a lot of pressure, but it will go. It's going to start going a bit. So you've lightened up your band. That's your starting point. And then don't think, right, I've got all afternoon and just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. 20, 25 shots, have a few minutes break, go and have a bag, cup of tea, whatever, then do another 20, 25 shots. It's even now I sort of limit it to about 30, have a breather, and then go again. Yeah, when we have meetups, we stand shooting all afternoon and stuff like that. But if you're learning, it is muscle memory, it's repetition, same position, same release, everything. But it's your pouch release is got to be your most important. Once you've worked out the width of your frame, etc., and how you like to do everything, but it's how you let that ball go dictates where it goes. It's there. It's got to be consistent.
Because I suppose it's mentally as well. You know, when we're talking about shooting for long periods of time, it's not just the physical side, you know, of having the tension on the bands and you know all that sort of stuff. It's the mental side of having to
Well,
focus.
you
You know,
can't concentrate for 3 hours. You can't be concentrating, or switch to a bigger target. If you're trying to really get accurate, yeah, shooting that little small target, bum bum bum. Then have a can hanging up, just a few relaxed shots at the can. Have a breather and go again. But yeah, you can't concentrate for that long.
That's a good point. And what about a third one? What would you recommend being your third tip?
Um, work it out for yourself. Stop asking for advice on. There's a lot of people giving good advice on Facebook, but there's just as many giving bad advice.
Mhm.
You put a thing up. What's best set up for 8 mil? You'll have 20 combinations. What's best set up for 9.5 mil combination? Or it just be someone trying to push their bands, my bands. Buy a roller band, get a rotary cutter, and muck about. Find out what
Mhm.
works for you. When I was mucking about, I'd cut 2 of everything. So if it did work, I had a spare set. Thousands of bands later, you work it all out. But yeah, work it out for yourself. I cut a new bit of band, cut it a bit longer, and I mark it in 5 mil increments till I know. Yeah. Advice, it's like picking up little bits of information off everyone, but you'll see too many people offering, and they're divert. Someone will say, what's best set up target 8 mil? People are still saying 0.7, 25, 20. People, it's mental what people will recommend.
I mean, to a certain degree, like you said, you could have 20 different answers, but a lot of them could be correct, but they might not be correct for you. Do you know
so
what I mean?
what
So
works for one
if
doesn't
if
work.
if I'm shooting 8 mil, what I use may be completely different to what you use. Now that doesn't mean what I use is better than what you use. It just means that what you're using, you prefer to use, and that's what I'm
Yeah,
assuming you're probably going to be more accurate with. So and I think that's one thing I try, and if I do answer a question on Facebook, I always try and answer with, this is what I'd use as a beginner. Get yourself a cheap frame that if you get a bunch of 4 kits, it's not costing you a lot of money. Get yourself light bands because you want to be able to hold that, the tension on the bands for a long period of time, and find things out for yourself. Like you said, get yourself a roll of bands, mess around with tapers, because again, people go on about tapers being, this taper's the best, that taper's the best. You won't know until you try and figure things out yourself. So I think it's a really important point. And I know a lot of people are just really passionate about the hobby, and they're really liking what they're using at the moment. So when someone asks a question, they do want to preach, what they're using, as well as be loyal to the people who they get from, because we know certain people go to the same people for the bands or their frames or whatever else, and they get a really good service from them. So they are wanting to kind of promote their stuff, which I do understand. But from a newbie's point of view, they're brand new. They got no idea who anybody is. They don't know who's good, who's not. And it can be mind blowing. I remember when I first started, and when I was hearing about tapers and what thickness bands go with what ammo, and people are saying no, you don't want to use this, and another person saying yes, you do want to use this. It can be really difficult. It can be quite off putting, to be honest with you, sometimes.
yeah, it can be bewildering. I mean, it's weird how I didn't actually find any Facebook groups when I first started. I didn't know they existed. I was proper going in blind, and it was YouTube. I found, I think, 99.9% of people find Gamekeeper John videos,
Mhm.
and so I learnt then. um, and then I found the Slingshot forum online, and I found some guy who'd done exhaustive testing of bands and tapers and powers and that. Obviously, still obsessed with the power side. So it was like, yeah, he's tested Sumike, Precise, this, that, and the other. That was the speed he was getting with that. Right, I'll get a roll of that, roll of that, roll of that, and start mucking about. And by the time I found Facebook groups, I'd sort of worked it out for myself. And I'm still learning now. You try a new band, you think, hold on, that don't work with that. Maybe if I add a bit, take a bit off, a bit short, a bit longer. It depends how much you want to get out of the sport. If you just want to
Yeah.
band on your thing and shoot tin cans in the garden, a reasonable setup will do. Once you start wanting to be consistent, you've got to do it for yourself and tweak.
So let's talk about consistency, because obviously being, competition shooting, that is the aim of the game, really, isn't it? It's about being consistent and being as accurate as possible. Um, do you remember the first competition you entered, and was that online or was it in person?
Online, I mean, I've done very few in-person competitions with catapults, and the first one was the UK Online League. I just seen it, looked and sort of worked out what you do to enter, blah blah blah. Your first round is your entry. I had no targets. I'd literally been shooting a cardboard box with a bit of paper on it. So straight on wasp. the targets arrived on a Monday morning. The competition had started on the Monday. I hung it up and went for it. Went live.
And how did you do?
I've done all right. I did do all right. It was 80 mil first round. Yeah, and I got 10 out of 10. And I thought that's really easy. But I think it was my naivety to the live shooting because I'd never ever done anything live. And so it was like boom, boom, boom. I didn't have a chance to get nervous about it or anything. I just like, okay, so they just want me to press that button, put it in my tripod, all the setup, mirror, everything, and just shoot it 10 times. Yeah, okay, I can do that. And that was it. And I've done it. I thought, well, that seemed easy. I wonder everyone else is going to be getting 10 out of 10 because that was really easy. But then your mind plays, I've done really well there. So the next week I'm going to do, and yeah, the live learning curve begins, which we'll cover in a minute, whatever. But yeah, I've done all right on my very first live. I've done all right.
I suppose it's quite a good thing that you didn't have those nerves because, you know, that's one thing that people tend to struggle with. And it's a reason why a lot of people don't want to go live. You know, being that your first time round, you done really well. And as you said, you didn't have time to think about it. For me personally, I've done lives, but I've done a few sort of fun challenges. So I've never shot in a competition per se, where there's a league and there's point systems and all that sort of stuff. I've just done a couple of fun live challenges, like hitting cans, lighters. We do a lot of spinners and stuff like that. It's just between a group of us as the Juggernaut Challenge. But even with that, there's something about going live that kind of gets to me. And I think when you're in a competition setting, and I've not been in this setting, so I might be completely wrong, but because there's so many other people there, all the attention's not on you. Whereas I think when you're live and you know you look at your screen, you see 10 people, even 10 people, to me, if 10 people are just staring at their phone watching me, that gives me a massive amount of pressure. And I don't know whether, you know, that's something that for you has kind of gone over time, which to me it has a little bit. I do have to, you know, be honest and say the pressure's gone a little bit, but it's still there. You know, did you experience the same sort of thing where you started to realize, actually, I've got a bunch of people just watching me at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we try and encourage people to do the live shooting because we're all in the same boat. It can be nerve-wracking. Some of the foreign competitions are quite strict. And so the pressure is also on making sure everything is spot on because they'll deduct points if you didn't show the thickness of your steel plate even. You've got to measure the target because it's a lot of the online internationals are paper targets. So of course, once you've done all your measurements of the paper target, you then can't take it out of view, putting it in the tripod. You know, they probably think you could turn around, someone put a great target up and turn back. So that adds a bit of pressure to it. You're trying to get everything right. They want the height of the target. You've got to get your tape measure, measure every target. Your 10-meter distance, where you're standing, the mirror's got to be. So there's that pressure as well. And then you've got to do your 10 shots. And some of them international ones, like you say, it comes up in the screen how many people's watching. By the time you've gone through your measurements, you can have a dozen people watching. Your screen's full up with so-and-so's watching, so-and-so's watching. These are from all over the world. You know, you can't pronounce half the names, but they're all watching you. So suddenly the sweaty palms start and your mind starts racing. And we want as many people to do live shooting. And yes, it can be quite a daunting, intimidating thing, but you slowly build up to let it be fun rather than pressure because it puts people off. But yeah, the pressure, setting up, all that, everything, the nerves do kick in occasionally.
I think for the most part, you know, the people that do these competitions, they're really good guys inside the hobby as well. You know, the community on a whole, and the online competition shooting community, from what I've seen, are quite supportive. So I mean, it's not like, you know, you have a really bad round and people are poking fun at you. Do you know what I mean? It's more of, okay, you've had a bad round, I'm going to encourage you, so next time around you can do a bit better.
Yeah, It doesn't happen. There's no. You'll think that's going to happen. Once you get to know your mates and stuff like that, we will rip each other apart over it, big time. But generally, we give a lot of respect to anyone who's willing to go live and take part. Whether you hit 1 out of 10, 10 out of 10, you've got our respect. I'd rather watch someone missing 9, 10 shots than posting a YouTube video where they never miss, that's been edited to hell. We want people to go live and enjoy, and we'll encourage it, and we want to see them the next week having a go. And I like seeing people improve. I see people come on the scene and yeah, they struggled. And then as the months go on and you see them doing more and more, and suddenly them people who really struggled are now hitting 8 and 9 and 10 out of 10. And we enjoy that because, you know, that they broke through that nervous barrier, not worrying. The sooner you relax and do the lives, you'll start enjoying them. But we give respect to anyone who takes part. There's no Mickey taking. We all know we shoot better off camera. All of us do.
Yeah.
I reckon it's about 80%. What I do on live is about 80% compared to what I can do in practice. You do lose a bit because you hold on that split second too long, making sure, and then there's a little bit of tension that shouldn't be there. So we have good round occasionally, yeah, blinding round, it goes perfect, but generally you're not 100% of what you can do in practice. But everyone's like that, unless you're Vietnamese, they smash it.
I mean, I was going to make that point that, you know, you do see some flashy videos on YouTube, on Facebook, where people are hitting bottle caps, and, you know, I've even done some myself. But, you know, the real kind of nitty gritty of it is, if you're shooting live, that is your true talent. And until you do that, or unless you do that, you're not really proven. Obviously, there's people who don't shoot online. I'm not saying they can't shoot, because obviously they go to online competition. They go to sort of, you know, in-person competitions. They go to the World Championships and things like that. So obviously they've proven themselves against others in that scenario. But again, for me, it's just another notch of the hobby. Being able to shoot live is just another thing. You know, like you said, it's a different feel. And I like what you said there about being about 80% of your full potential when you're shooting online, because it does affect you. I shoot, like you said, and so does everybody else, shoot a lot better in practice. And I suppose for those people who go to in-person competition may say the same thing, that actually when I'm in my garden and it's completely quiet, I could hit this spinner 10 times out of 10. And then when they go to a competition, they maybe hit it 8 times out of 10. So it's just another sort of subcategory to competition shooting, where you're actually having to press that live button. And until you do it, you won't really know how it'll affect you. Now, the one thing that I want to know is, does that get easier over time? Because, like I said, I've done a bunch. I've done a couple of live shooting videos, and from my personal point of view, all I've done is just try to enjoy it a bit more, have a bit more fun with it, and that for me is taking the pressure off. But obviously, with what you're doing is a little bit different, because you know it's a competition. You're scoring points. You're trying to win. You know, it's quite competitive. So for you, has that changed at all?
Everyone has a different mindset on their approach. I try and view it all as practice. Try and take it all as practice. Yeah, the nerves aren't as bad as they used to be. I've done rounds. I've been that nervous. I've totally missed the catch box. I've been like yanked and like hands are shaking. I can't shoot. And every now and then, yeah, the pressure gets on, but it's how you do it in your mind. I see people going live, fair play, they're doing it, but they're almost broken before they've started, because they're nervous doing their measurements. They're nervous. You can hear it in their voice that it's a trauma for them, and it doesn't seem fun for them. And I've tried to talk to people and say, look, relax, drop it back, see it as practice. Just see it as practice, relax, chat, just fluid, be confident in yourself. I'm not fussed about, because there's a lot of these competitions, there's nothing to win. There's no prize at stake. It's purely your name on the leaderboard. So for me, it's the live it's testing myself. There's nothing to win. Nothing to win. All right, dozen or so blokes that know you say well done, blah blah blah. But we all enjoy it, and we do it for whatever reason. I'm lucky. I've got it all set up in work. Down there, I've got a shooting range permanently set up in my workplace. My boss doesn't mind, so it's easy for me to be set up and shooting whenever I want to. So maybe that's more relaxed because I haven't got the hassle of going and setting up and finding a clear spot in the woods or making sure the neighbour's dog isn't barking. But it's just it gives my practice a reason to do the online. The online community are really friendly. Like you said before, no one slates each other. Amongst friends, we take the mickey. But if there's a new shooter come in, we always like, that was good effort, blah, blah, blah. And you wait for their response. They'll turn around and say, no, it was shit. I say, well, yeah, I didn't really want to say that, but yeah. But no one will get the mickey taken out of them. Once you start doing the lives, we've got respect for you. You're doing it. You're getting involved.
So you touched on there that, obviously part of the pressure is setting up, and different competitions need different things in terms of, as you said, you can move the camera, whether it be how you set up your distance and how you record that from a video perspective. Does that differ depending on what country this competition's in? And just give us a quick idea of how many different competitions you've entered and, in what region of the world that they take place.
I couldn't tell you how many I've entered. I mean, weekly, at the moment, I'm doing 2 that are yearly. So it's once a month through the year. Another one that's all year, that's fortnightly. There's 2 a month. Generally, and there's normally 1 or 2 weekly ones going as well. And this is Thailand, Brazil, Italy. I don't think there's been one in Spain this year. But there's 2 going on in Brazil that are yearly. There's an Italian one that's the fortnightly all year. Chiang Mai, which is a Thai one, has just finished. They're regular. Once you find them, there's a competition going on, minimum 1 a week. If you've joined at the right time, so in January you can join up and do the yearly ones. Sometimes they leave it open a couple of months for latecomers, but generally, yeah, there's a lot going on. But the setup is virtually identical. You have your tape measure set out at 10 meters. You have a visible marker at that 10 meters. I tend to stand behind a pallet, bin, chair, whatever. You start at 10 meters. You have to show your frame that you're using. You have to show your shots that you're using, like 10 shots. There's one competition. If you have more than 10 shots shown, you lose a point. Then you have to go down, show every 2 meters along the tape. You show the end of your tape running up to your plate. You measure the height. Then you have to get the ruler out, and like I say, most of them are paper targets, so you have to measure the paper and show, and then you sort of step back. One of them you have to actually show that your plate is 5 mil thick, your steel plate. Yeah, and once you get fluent at doing them, I think half the battle's won, because you see the new people doing it and they're going, oh, I forgot. So once you're fluent and do your measurements, that's one hurdle out the way to make it easy for yourself. So you get used to doing that, and then it all flows. Everyone works it out their own way, but my steel plate, when I'm doing a target competition, I have the target up on one side, and then on the other side I'll have a plain piece of paper, and depending on what the target is, like I've brought some different targets of what we have to shoot. If it's a red bullseye, that blank piece of paper, I have a red dot in line with that target. So I set up everything for live. You have ID number, you've got to fill all out on your live before you press live. I have a couple of shots at that red dot or black dot, whatever it is. If I think they're all right, press live and I go for it. Straight in, and it's there. And I think how I've got mine set up, like I say, I've got the advantage, I'm at work. and it's here. It's 2 minutes and I'm set up. I haven't got to go to a woods. I haven't got to do a lot. So I have a major advantage of how easy I can set up. Weather doesn't bother me, nothing. It's indoors. Yeah, I'm lucky like that. But having you set up smooth helps kill off any sort of pre-shooting nerves. You know, if you're worrying about doing your measurements right and getting things right there, you're going to already you're struggling. You've created a problem for yourself.
And in terms of setups, is there any restrictions on what you can use in terms of the ammo or anything like that?
6 to 10 mil, 6 to 10
Okay.
mil steel. That's it. I mean, why you want to go any bigger on steel doing a target competition, I don't know, but yeah, 6 to 10 mil. No wrist braces on your catapults, no laser sights if anyone actually fancies using laser sights, but yeah, straightforward frame. Some of the competitions, they had one, a wild catapult where it had to be like a stick from a tree, and you just
Okay.
cut your band grooves in. A lot of them are fun as well. They're not
Mm.
serious. You got to take them all as fun, because you're not winning an Olympic gold medal. You're not winning like 10 grand for top prize. It's fun. It's just a reason for your practice. You're practicing for something. You're not waiting for the one big comp of the year that everyone will be going to. You can be doing it all year long.
I guess another thing about this is you're bringing people from all over the world in the hobby together, which I
Yeah,
think is really interesting because, we know there's certain shooters out there that are kind of shit hot. We know sort of Chris Graffin's going to the World Championships and he's looking on fire. You've got Tim Henry, who's over in the USA, winning a lot of regional competitions over there. But a lot of these people, especially sort of, Asia, like Indonesia and things like that, they don't get the opportunities to go to these competitions. So it's good being able to highlight people from all over the world who are also, really good shots.
yeah. I mean, the Vietnamese are unbelievable. They really are good. They dominate, and you wouldn't get to see that if you wasn't involved in the online. Um, it's yeah, you're seeing people, and it becomes a community. So some of them, everyone's commenting on everyone's shoot, and and then they're inviting you because they know there's another comp on one. So you get an invite to another group going on that's got another comp running, and yeah, you get to see some real class shooting. Some of them guys out there are unbelievable. They're shooting 98 out of 100 on a paper target and stuff like that. It's
Mm.
faultless, and everyone's style. You see, some of them take a long time in between shots. It's real methodical, and then you got others that are boom, 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 boom. You got Andy Moore who shoots like his lives are 2 minutes long compared to someone else's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people shoot amazingly fast, and it's different background. You see, these guys are shooting their lives in the jungle and stuff like that, and then some of them are doing it on a canal towpath in Vietnam, and there's people walking past, and no one's blinking an
Mm.
eye that this guy's pounding hell out of a metal plate, and people are just getting on with their business, taking no notice of it.
Mhm.
It's normal for them.
So, obviously a lot of these competitions are individually based. So you're going there to sort of shoot for yourself. Are there any sort of team-based competitions that you've entered?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing one at the moment in Thailand one, yeah, team one, and for some reason, I don't know whether it's the pressure of trying to keep, because it's a team and letting each other down. It's probably my worst competition I've ever shot. I've shot terrible. But yeah, that's a yearly thing as well, once a month. The three, it's an awkward one because you've all got to shoot the same day. You have to shoot together. You don't have to like drive across
Yeah.
country to meet each other, but you have to time it that you all shoot your round on that day. Um, the Brazil World Rankings, they just pick the top three from each country to do the team shoot.
Right.
Yeah, so the top three from the UK represent the UK, and you do 2 rounds as a team. We managed to get a third place last year in the world rankings. Me,
Nice.
Steve Bean, and Terry Young. We done well. Steve shot out of his socks, and yeah, so we got third place in the world rankings. The UK team. It goes totally under the radar amongst catapult shooting
Mm,
generally, as the online world is for some reason frowned upon in the UK. There's been lots of claims of it's not real, it's make believe, and all that sort of thing. So we've had a lot of negative input from some of the old school catapult slingshot shooters in the UK. Although we've tried hard to get more involved, we get that sort of funny, it's rubbish. It's anyone can do it in their back garden. It's real competition you need to do and stuff like that. Yeah, so we done
but
well under the
as,
radar.
as we meant as we mentioned earlier, though, I think until you shoot live, what you're putting out on video or whatever you're saying, you might look like a great shooter. I know when I first started shooting and I was watching people and they were doing all these trick shots and they were hitting tiny targets. I was thinking, oh, that guy can shoot. However, now for me, it's when I'm watching people shoot live, or obviously, in a in-person competition, I actually think, no, that's a real shooter. It's more, like you said, I don't mind people missing a couple of shots because if they're doing a couple of rounds on a 25 mil spinner, and they're missing a couple of times, but they're hitting it. I know how hard that is. I know how hard that it is off camera. So to be able to do it on camera and prove that actually you're as good as you say you are by going live is completely different. So it does baffle me a little bit that people see it in a negative light because ultimately people are putting themselves out there to be ridiculed, to have a bad session and have everyone watching them. But for the most part, when I see people do well, it amazes me more than anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But as we were touching on teams, do you just quickly want to go over your team and who it is and who's involved in that?
yeah. Team Grizzly. Yeah, well, Team Grizzly. I mean, we are sort of the online team of the UK. Um, Brilliant bunch of lads. Russ Connor, the team boss. He invited me to join in 2020 when after the first UK Slingshot League, got chatting to him. There used to be a lot of good banter on there, like trying to wind each other up and stuff like that. Nothing malicious. It was just, yeah, it's a good round, but you won't manage well next week because it's smaller time. All that. And he was the leader of the mind games, but couldn't break me. So yeah, he invited me onto the team, and people have come and gone. Life moves on, and it's just a great bunch of lads. You've got Russ, the top man. You've got Andy, who's like the online coordinator, the events organizer. You've got Steve and Benny, the Chuckle brothers, who are just great crack. Scott and Jake, Daryl, my son. I'm going to forget someone now. I'm looking to Phil Smith, who like Abdul. He's and they're all great shooters. We're all not one of us is better than the other. We week in week out take it in turns having the best round and stuff like that. There's no one head and shoulders above anyone else. It's a great bunch of lads who enjoy it. We do it because we enjoy it. Kev, Kev come up. He only started last year, and he's improved tremendously. And like I say, that we all have a laugh. We try and have meetups. I struggle to have meetups. I've got 4 kids. My missus works weekends. So for me to get meetups, it's like a military operation of arranging childminding, blah, 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 blah. And I'd love to meet them more because when we're together, we have such fun. There's spinners hung up, targets set up, and then you turn around and someone's blown them out the tree before you've even started. And it's back to being kids just shooting tin cans and stuff like that. But they're a great bunch of lads, all great shots. Yeah, good fun from all walks of life. We've got builders and people working in offices and all sorts amongst us.
And if anyone wanted to get involved, how would they go about doing that? Because I think that's quite important. If someone's watching this for the first time, I certainly didn't know about online competition shooting until probably maybe 6, 7 months ago. So there could be someone out there watching this that don't really know what online competition shooting is. How would you give advice on how they can go about joining a group and getting shooting on live?
You just join the group. There's the Grizzly Catapult team. We try and be active. If anyone wants to ask a question, you find me on there. I'm normally quite easy to find. Message me and ask what to do, or just watch some videos. We're doing one at the moment, the hunters, various heights, distances, everything. Just get involved. Just if you've got any questions, ask us. We want people to shoot online. We want to encourage more and more people doing it because it's a good community. You can travel to an ESF shoot that's on once or twice a year, or you can be shooting every week of the year, enjoying it. There's not prizes to be had, and it's fun. There used to be trophies, but it got to the point of, was there any need for trophies? And there's also another one, Slingshot live shoot practice range. I mean, that's got, I can't remember what the last count was. Well over 100 members. There's probably only 3 of us actually use it. So you can go on there, shoot live, practice your setup, or just practice having the pressure of knowing that you're being watched and things like that. It's not hard to set up. It's a cheap hobby. But as it's a hobby, you do as much or as little as you want to be involved. It's like a fisherman can just get his stuff and go down the riverbank and just enjoy a couple of hours, or you got the fishermen who'll travel all over the country doing competitions. The live shooting's like that happy medium. You don't have to travel to a big comp. All you got to do, 5 minutes of your day, put a target up, do all your measurements, and shoot it live, and get involved. We're all here to encourage and get more people on it. It's good fun.
There we go, guys. If you're interested, check it out. And I've witnessed myself, even though I'm not doing sort of these really competitive online competitions. My accuracy have actually improved quite a lot since going live. I don't know whether that's just the pressure or actually competing against other people and hearing how they're doing things and how you can do things. But for me, overall, is improved my accuracy. And by the sounds of things, what you've said, certain members of your group has also done the same. So, if anything, is only going to help you improve. So it's well worth doing it. And as I said, is another reason to shoot. Yeah. So I think we should get on with some of the questions. I got a couple fired in, and I got one late last night as well. So I'll just have to get that one in there. So the first one's by Sean Shag Hackleton. Flats or tubes and your go-to setup?
Flat bands. I've mucked about with tubes. I can be accurate with tubes. It's just something I don't like the feel of them. So it is flat band. Do you want the precise setup, what I use, or?
Yeah, because I've got another one here from a friend of mine, Ethan Martin at Tennessee Slang, and he wants to know your setup, including your frame, your ammo, your taper, and things like that. So if we just go through your setup itself.
So my go-to ammo for target shooting is 7mm bearings, BSB 45, cut 1510 with a 150 active. My frame is that dirty old thing. That is all I do.
So your TTF too?
Yeah. In 3 years, I bought one frame. I bought an Evo a couple of months ago just to try it. But from the start, I've made my own. Well, I say made. I cut my own frames out, and that's it. And this dirty old thing, never seen a touch of varnish, and that is what I use for everything.
And you're predominantly TTF. Do you ever shoot OTT or?
I shoot OTT. I probably do about 10 shots a day on OTT just to remind myself I don't like it. The Evo, I bought the Evo because I just liked the look of it. It was going second hand, so that was the first frame I've ever bought for myself. And I do like shooting that, but only with a heavy setup. I use 8mm leads with that one. And yeah, that's a fun one to shoot. I do like a dog food can, hang it up and just try and obliterate that. How many shots I can get to cut a dog food can in half. But yeah, target shooting is TTF.
So I've never shot 7mm. I used 8mm for probably almost 2 years. Until recently, I've just got a batch of 9.5s, which I'm trying out. But the one thing that I found is with the 8s, I feel like I had a little bit less control on the pouch than I do with the 9.5s. Obviously, this is all new, so it's all things that I'm I've shot 9.5s before and 10s and whatever else, but I thought I'm going to give myself a couple of weeks or a couple of months on 9.5s just to see, just to do something different. But I can imagine with the 7s, you get a whole lot in terms of being able to hold the ball bearing.
There's less room for error on the pouch release and stuff. It's you're very small. What I find the warehouse I shoot in gets freezing cold in the winter. It's unbelievably cold, and I normally end up moving back up to 8s because the 7mm with cold hands I struggle with. So as the temperature drops, I might switch back to 8mm. But yeah, 9.5mm is so forgiving on pouch release. You can do something, but with 7mm, one little and boom, it's gone. It's a flyer. There's not a lot of room for error with 7. 8mm a good all-rounder for target shooting if you're just starting out, just to get on it. You can go really light with 8mm and still be very accurate. You don't need to kill the target. 10 meters, it just needs to get to the other end. It doesn't need to be power, although some people like to have that power. I always view it as it just needs to only needs to travel 10 meters. Doesn't need to be smashing anything. So that's my setup, 7mm.
Perfect. So the next one's by Chuck and Steel. So he wants to know what your favorite shooting routine is to keep your accuracy on par.
I get into work every morning. I get into work and I do about 100 shots before I start work every morning. I have these MDF sticks. They're 48mm wide, and I put a 25mm dot on them. And I'll do 10 of them in the morning as practice, not straight off 100. I'll probably do 2 sticks, walk down. They only take about 8 to 10 shots before they smash to pieces. I'll do that, and then sometimes I step back to 15 meters and shoot the sticks again, but I'm not so concerned about hitting the dot. I'm just concerned about keeping the straight line. So with them being 48mm wide, 15 meters, as long as I'm going down the middle, I know that
You're almost there.
Leashes are going to pull left or right. So my drill every morning is around 100 shots on them sticks. I don't like shooting spinners much. I shoot these sticks. Paper's a nightmare as well, but I tend to shoot these sticks, and I find, I don't know, these are a waste product. They're a packing material. I get thousands of them at work, so I'll make use of them. And that is what I do. But then every once in a while, I'll spend a day just doing a heavy setup, just as a break. Or if I'm not shooting, if I'm not hitting well after 4 or 5 shots, I put the frame down, pick up something totally different, like 9.5mm or lead or whatever, have a few of that, and then go back to my normal setup and do that. But yeah, I'm lucky that I've got it in work, and I can every morning into work, boom, boom, boom. Then every half hour or so at work, I fire off another 15, 20 shots, 30 shots, just boom, 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 and then carry on my work. My boss loves me.
And that's something that I mentioned. I actually find, shorter little sessions are a lot better. And I always keep in mind how I did. So if I go out and I do 15 shots, I didn't do too well, I think about that and I think, right, I got to go into my next one. I got to think a little bit differently. And then I have a good session. I think, right, great. My confidence up here now. I'm going to go out later on and I'm going to put a 25mm on and I'm going to hit that because I did really well on the 40. I'm going to the 25. So, just as you were saying, I think shorter periods of shooting definitely helps.
Oh, definitely. But then, a lot of life gets in the way sometimes as well, because, you get in from work, especially in England, your general 9 to 5 job, whatever, 8 till 6, whatever. We're going to have the dark evenings. So people then struggle. So they're only getting the weekend. So they might get a Saturday afternoon and it's hammering down with rain. So then Sunday morning, and because they haven't shot all week, they're not having to do 3 or 4 hours because they've missed it. So, I'm lucky, and I know I've got such a huge stroke of luck, been able to do it 365 days a year here. I can come in here on a Sunday if I want to. I've got keys to the place, and shoot 7 days a week. The only weather issue I have is when it gets really cold. That the warehouse is like sub-zero sometimes, but that's a small price to pay for being able to shoot with no wind, no rain. Yeah, I enjoy shooting outdoors more. Me and my son have set up a little hunter's course in the woods, and I enjoy that a million times compared to shooting in here. Random targets, nailed on trees. It's more enjoyable. It's got to be more enjoyable than standing staring at a box.
Yeah.
Meters away.
Well, I'm still jealous anyway. I'd love to have a setup in work, but I can't see my boss approving that one. The next one's by Dan Layton. So, do you still have good and bad days, or are your skills so polished to the point where you're just having good days?
Oh yeah, we all have bad days. We all have bad rounds. It's even we always say like you go live, and we've all done it. So, I can't believe that I was shooting 8 and 9 out of 10 before I went live. It happens to us all. We don't go live when we've been shooting badly. And again, having the advantage of being at work and having it set up constant. If I've got a competition I've got to do that week, and on the Monday I go, well, I'm not shooting. Well, I don't do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Whereas someone who's only got that window of opportunity on Sunday morning, whatever the weather, whether it's shooting bad or not, they got to do it because they won't get another chance that week. But yeah, I have off days. Like I said, I don't shoot spin as much, but I will shoot a spinner at some point through the day. I've walked up and I missed 40mm spinner 4 or 5 times in a row. I walk away, I go back, and then I'm on it. Other times I just can't hit it. Just for some reason, I'm going over it, I'm going beside it, I'm snatching it. Something's going on. The car's in for an MOT, so you're a bit stressed. You know, what's that going to be? You know, the missus give you a hard time because you didn't clean up the night before. All sorts. It's I'm not bang on every day like a machine. No, I go live. I've gone live. Shot 1 out of 10. Shot 2 out of 10. When beforehand I couldn't miss.
Yeah.
I mean, my live routine is I don't shoot loads before I go live. I have 2 or 3. If I've hit the target, I go live. I don't. Some people do 10, 20, 30, and they say, well, I hit 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Then I went live and only hit 4. That's the reason why, because you shot so much before you went live. Whereas me, I 2 or 3 shots. If I'm on the target, I go live. But I have bad days. Sometimes you're overconfident. You're overconfident and forget that you've still got to concentrate. And so you think, you've had them days when no matter what you do, even when you think you've got it wrong, you still hit the target. And
it's just
you go live and it does go wrong. Yeah. And so
I do think confidence is a big thing, because I think you do shoot better when you're confident, because you're not worried so much. Your mind isn't elsewhere. Your mind is, I'm doing good at the moment. So as you said, hitting those couple of shots before you go live, you think, right, I know I can hit the target because I've just done it 2 or 3 times. So, I'm in the right headspace. Let's go. Whereas, if you're feeling a bit edgy and you've had you've tried doing 30, 40 shots and, you might not be where you think you should be. You're then going into a live thinking, oh my God, how is this gonna, how am I gonna look? It does make sense just to have few shots. I got a question late last night by a friend of mine, that is Carlo Del Carmen. So he wants to know, how intense do the competitions get, and how is the quality of shooting? He said he also noticed more folks from Southeast Asia, like Indonesia and Thailand, participate, which I know we've touched on, but give your thoughts on that.
I don't think they're intense at all. It's depends how much pressure you put on yourself, because at the end of the day, you're just putting a target out there and throwing 10 shots at it. It's the quality of the Asia shooters are unbelievable. They're really good, but it's pressure on yourself more. You can put as much or as little pressure on yourself, because it's at the end of the day, it's just a hobby. It's fun. It makes no difference to your day whether you do a good round or a bad day. You might be a bit pissed off because you've done badly, but it doesn't change your day. You've still got to go to work, go home, have your dinner, look after your kids, whatever. it's just a bit of fun. So if you put intense pressure on yourself to do well, it probably won't be as enjoyable either. We
Mm.
we all feel good when we've had a good round. The bad rounds are gone, forgotten. But it's not intense pressure because you're still in your own environment. You haven't
Yeah.
gone to Asia, you haven't gone to Thailand and had everyone shooting around you. So yeah, it's how much you put on yourself. How important is it to you? When I shoot live, I'm testing myself. It's if everyone else around me shot a good round, I'm pleased for them. Not like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll never compete now. It's like,
Hmm.
well done, yeah, great round. Oh, fantastic shooting. We want each other to do well. Yeah, there's probably plenty out there who want to beat him, want to beat him, want to beat him, but I just want to do well. I mean, if I do well in a competition, I don't even tell my missus half the time.
Mm.
I don't tell her. I,
You
she'll,
just feel good about it.
yeah, occasionally she'll say, "How are you getting on?" So, "Oh yeah, I got a fifth place or whatever in that one in Thailand," or "Yeah, I've done well in that one," and blah blah blah. That's it. It's just a hobby.
Mm. There you go. Perfect. So there's one more left, and I don't know how you're going to answer this one, but Andy Mond wants to know how it feels to be the second best looking man on the team.
How it feels to be the second best looking, eh? Well, I take that as a compliment, really, because to be fair, I'd say my son, who's on the team, is the best looking. So it's only my son who's better looking than me. I take it as a
Well played.
compliment.
Well
I
played.
don't think Andy thought that one out very well, did he?
No, he's a good guy, Andy. Though I do like Andy.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
he's
he's keen. Very keen. Very keen. Wants to get people shooting. Um, a good shot. Very good shot. He's a speed shooter. He's unbelievable. Like, you can't match him for the speed he can shoot things. Like I say, the whole Grizzly team are a good bunch of lads, and the guys who get involved in the UK that aren't on the team um, are good lads as well. There's only a couple more, like Terry Young. He gets involved. He's a brilliant shot, very consistent. And Dave Williams, another guy who gets on involved. But everyone who gets involved in the online are friendly and helpful.
mm,
It's we're not there to ridicule
it's a
anyone
nice place to be.
until you get to know us, and you give if you give the banter out, then we'll give it back
Mm,
and we'll have a laugh about it. But we'll gauge it first. We'll
yeah,
gauge it first, and you know we're not there to upset anyone. We're not there to
sure.
make anyone feel bad. But,
Well,
yeah, we'd
perfect.
like to get more people involved.
I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a really good chat because it's opened my eyes. You know, I knew a little bit about online competition shooting, but I always love having guests on where I don't know very much. Sometimes I know quite a bit about my guest and you know what they do, and sometimes I don't know much, and it's just about picking their brains and getting information out of them. So this has been really interesting for me because I've definitely learned a lot. I just want to give you an opportunity just to give anyone a shout out, or if there's anything you want to leave with the people listening or watching today.
Just shout out to Grizzly Catapult team because they're such a great bunch of lads. Um, just made the journey into catapults more enjoyable, and yeah, it's great. I just wish more people would take that step and go online because it's good fun. You got an opportunity to how do you word it? It gives you a reason to practice. A goal for your practice. You
Mm.
practice with nothing to aim for. So practice. I'll do that competition. Like I say, there's no prize involved, and all it ends up is your name gets put in the list of where you finished, and on to the next one. It's just
You know,
fun.
it's a niche hobby as well, so you don't really get to meet many people who are into shooting catapults. So it's just another way to make friends. And I always say this when I shoot live and I interact with the people. So on my YouTube channel, I'll go live and there'll be people and I'll interact with them and talk with them and stuff. For me, is the closest thing to being able to shoot with someone live. So
Yeah,
it's it's that side of it as well. Is that you feel like you've got a group of mates that you're shooting with, which for the most part, not a lot of people have because people are scattered all over the place.
yeah. That's it. I mean, I'm mixing with internationals now. People in a lifetime we're never going to meet. Never going to meet them. The chance of ever meeting these people are virtually
Mm.
nil. So you're shooting with people and enjoying, talking, and Google Translate's brilliant because it will translate. Sometimes the translation can be quite funny. They call the targets and that beers and pills and stuff like that is what it translates to. So, and some of the competitions, the translation can be quite interesting of working out what you got to do. But, you're mixing with people virtually that you never ever would have crossed paths with in your life.
There we go. Perfect. Again, thanks for coming on, Dave. I've really enjoyed this, and hopefully you have too if you're watching. And I'm sure I'll catch up with you very soon.
Take care.
See you later.
See you later.